Okay, we're going to get into the Padre roster. Oh man, I can't wait to see what goes on here. Because I'm going to tell you right now, there are going to be some very, very difficult conversations coming up. In the next few days, they got a lot of tough decisions to make on players, and I don't know what direction they're going to go. But I'm going to start here, and I'm going to tell you who I've got. I got 11 guys right now. Remember, you got a roster of 26. You got 13 pitchers, so you have 13 position players. These are the guys I've got right now. And I'm going to tell you what I think and why I think it. And I want your questions to come in and you tell me if you agree or disagree with me on this. Okay, roster construction. We're going to start at the catcher spot. I've got Elias Diaz, hitting 185 with no homers, one RBI, and a 399 OPS. I got him being the opening day starting catcher for the Padres. I got Luis Camposano making this team. Now, from what I hear, he may not make this team. That they may go with Martin Maldonado, who got released last year by the Chicago White Sox, hitting 119. Maldonado in camp, 19 at bats so far. He's hit 053 with one RBI. Martin Maldonado's had a really nice major league. He's won a Gold Glove. He's a great catcher. 38 years old, folks. Are you going to send Luis Camposano back to the minor leagues again? If you do that, you might as well trade him and see what you can get and go find another veteran that can hit the ball better than Martin Maldonado. I mean, I can't imagine the Padres going with a 34-year-old catcher and a 38-year-old catcher. Are you kidding me? But I'm hearing, oh, they love the way he calls the game. You know what? Get Camposano back there. Let him swing the bat. Least of all, he gives you a chance offensively. Martin Maldonado's basically an automatic out. He's a 203 career hitter. And I like Maldonado. That's the thing. I don't like to dog this guy because I'm a big catch and throw type guy. Especially having caught for 11 years when I was a kid growing up and working with pitchers. I'm a big catch and throw guy. But man, you got to go a different direction. I got people telling me Maldonado's going to make this team over Camposano. They're not going to keep three catchers, especially three catchers that all hit right-handed. You're not going to do that. Okay, so my catching for me, and we'll see with the Padres. I'm going to keep this, or we're going to match it up. But I'm trying to put this ball club together the best I possibly can with what the Padres have right now. So I'm going with Elias Diaz and Luis Camposano. Now, at second base, and you're going to find this. Well, you're not going to find it odd because I brought up the numbers a week ago or a couple of weeks ago regarding Cronenworth. I got Cronenworth and Jose Iglesias. For me, Cronenworth's not in the opening day starting lineup. You're going to say, well, why isn't Cronenworth in the opening day starting lineup, even though he's hitting 313 and got an 827 OPS? Why? Because last year, his numbers were dreadful against left-handed pitching. Cronenworth last year, and let me jog your memory on this. Cronenworth hit 241 last year overall. Against left-handed pitching, he hit 203 and 153 at bats, a 276 on-base percentage, a 531 OPS. He had 5 doubles, no triples, a homer, and 16 RBIs, and 153 at bats against left-handers. And then you take a look at Jose Iglesias in 92 at bats for the Mets. He hit 402 with 10 doubles, a homer, 6 RBIs, and had an OPS of 884. I know Mike Schultz likes to keep everybody happy and everything's beautiful. I want to win a ball game on opening day against Chris Sale, the guy that won 18-3 last year and won the Cy Young. It gives me a better opportunity with a right-hand hitting Jose Iglesias in the lineup than it does Jake Cronenworth. But I guarantee you they'll run Cronenworth out there, and maybe he'll flare one down the left field for a double inside the line, and it rattles around and a couple of runs score. Maybe. But I'm going to play the percentages. I'm playing Jose Iglesias at second base on opening day. That's the way I see it. The numbers don't lie. And that's not a small sample size, I might add. Okay. So I got Cronenworth and Iglesias. I'm going with Iglesias on opening day. You got Manny, who's had a miserable spring. Hit 148. He hit one homer. It was the first pitch we saw in spring training. He hit it out of the ballpark. He'd been awful. 503 OPS. He's Manny Machado. I'm not worried, but he's had an awful spring. Okay. Hopefully he has a good uh, first game against Chris Sale, and hopefully he has a great April and doesn't, hit 180 for the first month. Padres need him to come out and be hot right from the start. They got to get him going. They got to get Tatis going. But Manning, third base. Bogart's having a good spring. 290, no homers, 5 RBIs, OPS 676. I don't know who the hell you play in left field. And opening day, I probably run Connor Joe out there. Right-hand hitter. Hitting 313, 4 RBIs, 932, got a few doubles. Came on, got off to a slow start. I got an opening for a left-hand hitting left fielder. And we're going to get to that in a minute. But then center field, we got Jackson Merrill, who's hitting 256 in the spring, 3 homers, 8 RBIs, 794 OPS. Fernando, a mediocre spring training, 238, a homer, an RBI, 814 OPS. And then the Padres yesterday purchased the contract to Gavin Sheets and they put him on the 40-man roster, having a marvelous, best spring of everybody. 313 and 48 at bat, 6 bombs, 12 RBIs, and OPS of 1,094. I mean, he had a hell of a spring. And hopefully, I don't expect him to do that in the regular season, but, hey, hopefully he could hit 270. Hit 265, 270. That's going to translate to some power numbers. Okay, so now I'm going to go back and I'm going to mention the 11 guys that I personally have on this roster. You got to start telling me who you want on this roster. Do you disagree with any of the 11 guys that I have on this roster? I got Diaz and Camposano as the catchers. I got Luis Arraez at first base, hitting 395, doing a great job. Cronenworth, Iglesias, Manny, Bogarts, Connor Joe, Jackson Merrill, Fernando, and Gavin Sheets. Those are my 11 guys. So if you got anybody out there, we'll start putting them on the board. I want to hear from you. Okay, now, the guys that are still in the running. You got Jason Hayward, who's hitting 143 so far with a 500 OPS. He had 6 RBIs. He got 3 of them last night on that 3-run triple. Jason Hayward signed, a 1-year deal, right around $1 million. He can, if he makes the team and does something dynamic, he can get a little more, up to, I think, another $1.5 million. So you got Jason Hayward, you got Terso Ornelas, who had 23 homers last year in AAA. And overall, I think he's had a very nice spring, hitting 283. You got Brandon Lockridge, who to me is the ultimate 26 player on a lot of teams. He's a guy that's going to come in, play defense, occasionally maybe get an at bat in a blowout, or maybe in a bat against a left-handed pitcher, being a right-handed hitter, hitting 368. He's had a really good spring. And not only that, he can steal base. Got 6 stolen bases. Lockridge has kind of grown on me a little bit. Not that I think he makes this team, because I don't think he does. I think he starts in AAA. But he's better than I thought he was when I saw him last year. And he's slowly making me be a believer. Will he ever be an everyday guy? Absolutely not. Is he a 4th or 5th outfielder? Yeah, probably at some point in time on the right roster. On this roster is too deep for me. So you got Oscar Gonzalez having a marvelous spring. 380, no homers, but he's got 7 doubles and 3 RBIs and an OPS of 935. Oscar Gonzalez, right-hand hitter. And that's probably why he won't make the roster, because he's a right-hand hitter. Left-hand hitter, he probably makes the roster. But you got Connor Joe to be your guy out there in left field with whoever's going to be the left-hand hitter. And then you got Iggy Rosario, who, I'll be honest with you, I thought early in spring training, going into spring training, I liked him, and I'm not giving up on him. But he hasn't had a good spring, hitting 208, and really hadn't done a whole lot. I mean, he's run into a couple of ball, got a couple of homers, 7 RBIs, but he's more of an infielder than he is an outfielder. They're trying to play him in left field, but you got too many other guys. I just don't. I think he ends up in El Paso. Now we're going to get it down to 3 guys that are interesting. Yuli Gurriel, 40 years of age. I know there's a lot of talk. Padres love him. There's an article in the paper. They love him, and he's 40 years old, and he's done this, and he's done that. He's been a great player. I don't see him making this team. I really don't. I mean, you can't bring everybody on this roster. I don't see him making the team. And then you got Tyler Wade, good guy, did a nice job for the Padres in his role last year. I don't know if there's a spot for Tyler Wade on this ball club. I mean, hitting 162, no homers, 3 RBIs, can run a little bit. He can play second, short, third. He can play the outfield. He's a good guy to have, no question. But you only got 2 roster spots, and one of those guys has to be one of your starting left fielders. So what are you doing? I'm asking you right now, what are you doing with this roster? I gave you 11. Whether you agree with my 11 or not, I don't know. But from what I've seen, man, it's tough. I mean, I just wonder, are they going to give Ornelas a chance? Or are they going to go with Jason Hayward just because he's Jason Hayward? And we can talk about all the leadership. How many leaders they have to have in the clubhouse? And Jason Hayward's a great guy. By all accord, he's an unbelievable guy. And maybe he can become a coach someday. I don't know. Do you want to roll the dice? I mean, you could keep Hayward, send Ornelas down, and if Hayward doesn't pan out the first month, you release him and you bring Ornelas up. Well, how do you want to handle that, folks? I'm going to ask you that right now. How do you want to handle that? And, maybe Tyler Wade makes this team is the multi-utility guy. But, I mean, there's a lot to look at there. Okay, and again, we can go back and take a look at that Padre rotation a little bit. Padre rotation, pretty much what it is. Pretty much what it is. I mean, Darvish going to be out for a while. Waldron's going to be out for a while. They can't lose anybody else. They can't lose anybody else. They can't. You take a look at their first 7 games. Well, actually, the first 10 games. They got 4 against Atlanta. They got 3 against the Cleveland Guardians. And then they got 3 against the Chicago Cubs at Wrigley Field. I mean, that's a pretty tough start. Then I think on their way back, they stopped by Sacramento to take on the A's. And the A's aren't a layup. They're not a layup by any stretch of the imagination.